Welcome to In Pursuit of Truth. This is your host, Sir Patrick, Maximum Overdrive. We got a couple Q posts for you, a little bit of news to go through, and a message to Renegade. We're watching you. Always watching. Like a hawk. How many Q posts we got, John? 2. Yes, 33:24, 11 minutes after the hour of 8. We get this link right here. And Q puts one word in the kill brackets. Hussein. That's Barack Hussein in the membrane Obama. The link is to The Hill. How the Obama White House engaged Ukraine to give Russia collusion narrative an early boost. As Donald Trump began his meteoric rise to the presidency, the Obama White House summoned Ukrainian authorities to Washington to coordinate ongoing anti-corruption efforts inside Russia's most critical neighbor. The January 2016 gathering, confirmed by multiple participants and contemporaneous memos, brought some of Ukraine's top corruption prosecutors and investigators face to face with members of former President Obama's National Security Council, the FBI, State Department, and Department of Justice. The agenda suggests the purpose was training and coordination, but Ukrainian participants said it didn't take long during the meetings and afterwards to realize that America's objectives included two politically hot investigations, one that touched Vice President Joe Biden's family and one that involved a lobbying firm linked closely to then-candidate Trump. U.S. officials kept talking about how important it was that all of our anti-corruption efforts be united, says Andriy Telyshenko, then a political officer in the Ukraine embassy in Washington tasked with organizing the meeting. Telyshenko, who no longer works for the Ukraine embassy, said U.S. officials volunteered during the meetings, one of which was held in the White House's old executive office building, that they had an interest in reviving a closed investigation into payments to U.S. figures from Ukraine's Russia-backed Party of Regions. That 2014 investigation was led by the FBI and focused heavily on GOP lobbyist Paul Manafort, whose firm long had been tied to Trump through his partner and Trump pal Roger Stone. Agents interviewed Manafort in 2014 about whether he received undeclared payments from the party of ousted Ukrainian President Viktor Yanukovych, an ally of Russia's Vladimir Putin, and whether he engaged in improper foreign lobbying. The FBI shut down the case without charging Manafort. Telyshenko said he couldn't remember whether Manafort was mentioned during the January 2016 meeting, but he and other attendees recalled DOJ officials asking investigators from Ukraine's National Anti-Corruption Bureau, being NABU, if they could help locate new evidence about the Party of Regions payments and its dealings with Americans. It was definitely the case that led to the charges against Manafort and the leak to the U.S. media during the 2016 election, he said. That makes the January 2016 meeting one of the earliest documented efforts to build the now debunked Trump-Russia collusion narrative and one of the first to involve the Obama administration's intervention. Spokespeople for the NSC, DOJ, and FBI declined to comment. A representative for former Obama National Security Advisor Susan Sticky Rice did not return emails seeking comment. Nazar Kolodnitsky, Ukraine's chief anti-corruption prosecutor, told me he attended some, but not all of the January 2016 Washington meetings and couldn't remember the specific cases, if any, that were discussed. But he said he soon saw evidence in Ukraine of political meddling in the U.S. election. Kolodnitsky said the key key evidence against Manafort. A ledger showing payments from the Party of Regions was known to Ukrainian authorities since 2014, but was suddenly released in May 2016 by the U.S.-friendly NABU after Manafort was named Trump's campaign chairman. Somebody kept this black ledger secret for 2 years and then showed it to the public and the U.S. media. It was extremely suspicious. Kolodnitsky said he explicitly instructed NABU investigators who were working with American authorities not to share the ledger with the media. Look, Manafort's cases is one of the cases that hurt me a lot, he said. I ordered the detectives to give nothing to the mass media considering this case. Instead, they had broken my order and published themselves these 1 or 2 pages of this black ledger regarding Paul Manafort. For me, it was the first call that something was going wrong and that there is some external influence in this case, and there are some other interests in this case, not in the interests of the investigation and a fair trial, he added. Konstantin Kulik, deputy head of the Ukraine Prosecutor General's International Affairs Office, said that shortly after Ukrainian authorities returned from the Washington meeting, there was a clear message about helping the Americans with the Party of the Region's case. Yes, there was a lot of talking about needing help, and then the ledger just appeared in public, he recalled. Kulik said Ukrainian authorities had evidence that other Western figures, such as former Obama White House counsel Gregory Craig, who's in a bit of hot water right now, also received money from Yanukovych's party. But the Americans weren't interested. They just discussed Manafort. This was all and only what they wanted, nobody else. Manafort joined Trump's campaign on March 29, 2016, and then was promoted to campaign chairman on May 19, 2016. NABU leaked the existence of the ledgers on May 29, 2016. Later that summer, it told the U.S. media the ledgers showed payments to Manafort, a revelation that forced him to resign from the campaign in August 2016. A Ukrainian court in December concluded NABU's release of the ledger was an illegal attempt to influence the U.S. election, and a member of Ukraine's parliament has released a recording of a NABU official saying the agency released the ledger to help Democratic nominee Hillary Clinton's campaign. The other case raised at the January 2016 meeting, he said, involved Burisma Holdings, a Ukrainian energy company under investigation in Ukraine for improper foreign transfers of money. At the time, Burisma allegedly was paying then Vice President Joe Biden's son Hunter as both a board member and a consultant. More than $3 million flowed from Ukraine to an American firm tied to Hunter Biden in 2014-2015, bank records show. Teleshenko said U.S. officials told the Ukrainians that they would prefer that Kiev drop the Burisma probe and allowed the FBI to take it over. The Ukrainians did not agree, but then Joe Biden pressured Ukrainian President Petro Poroshenko to fire Ukraine's chief prosecutor in March 2016, as I previously reported. The Burisma case was transferred to NABU, then shut down. The Ukrainian embassy in Washington on Thursday confirmed the Obama administration requested the meetings in January of 2016, but embassy representatives attended only some of the sessions. Unfortunately, the Embassy of Ukraine in Washington, D.C. was not invited to join the DOJ and other law enforcement sector meetings, it said. It said it had no record that the Party of Regions or Burisma cases came up in the meetings it did attend. Ukraine is riddled with corruption, Russian meddling, and intense political conflicts, so one must carefully consider any Ukrainian accounts. But Teleshenko's claim that the DOJ reopened its Manafort probe as the 2016 election ramped up is supported by the DOJ's own documents, including communications involving Associate Attorney General Bruce Orr, his wife Nellie, and ex-British spy Christopher Steele. Nellie Orr and Steele worked in 2016 for the research firm Fusion GPS that was hired by Clinton's campaign and the DNC to find Russia dirt on Trump. Steele wrote the famous dossier for Fusion that the FBI used to gain a warrant to spy on the Trump campaign. Nellie Orr admitted to Congress that she routed Russia dirt on Trump from Fusion to the DOJ through her husband during the election. DOJ emails show Nellie Orr on May 30th, 2016, directly alerted her husband and 2 DOJ prosecutors specializing in international crimes to the discovery of the Black Ledger documents that led to Manafort Manafort's prosecution. Reported trove of documents on Ukrainian Party of Region's black cash box, Nellie Orr wrote to her husband and federal prosecutors Lisa Holden and Joseph Wheatley, attaching a news article on the announcement of Nabu's release of the documents. Bruce Orr and Steele worked on their own effort to get dirt on Manafort from a Russian oligarch, Oleg Deripaska, who had a source business relationship with him. Deripaska was almost ready to talk to U.S. government officials regarding the money that Manafort stole, Bruce Orr wrote in notes from his conversations with Steele. The efforts eventually led to a September 2016 meeting in which the FBI asked Deripaska if he could help prove Manafort was helping Trump collude with Russia. Deripaska laughed off the notion as preposterous. Previously, Politico reported that the Ukraine embassy in Washington assisted Clinton's campaign through a DNC contractor. The Ukraine embassy acknowledges it got requests for assistance from the DNC staffer to find dirt on Manafort, but denies it provided any improper assistance. Now we have more concrete evidence that the larger Ukrainian government also was being pressed by the Obama administration to help build the Russia collusion narrative, and that onion is only beginning to be peeled. But what is already confirmed by Ukrainians looks a lot more like assertive collusion with a foreign power than anything detailed in the Mueller report. Okay, so this is a rather lengthy article, but a lot of this is going to start dominating the narrative over the next few weeks. But it looks like we know this, the Obama White House, and it seems to me that Obama himself would have known, summoning these top corruption prosecutors and investigators from the Ukraine, trying to figure out what was going on with Trump and Manafort. And it looks like Joe Biden also, but they didn't seem very interested in Joe Biden and Hunter Biden, even though Hunter Biden was, he wasn't just a board member on this Burisma, and Burisma is the largest gas company out there in the Ukraine. He was actually chief legal officer, and that was a big deal, and that allowed him basically to allow his Rothschilds and Rockefeller energy knuckleheads into the Ukraine and essentially pushing out Putin and Russia. So it was a pretty big deal, but they didn't want to know about that. They didn't want to know about Greg Craig. They wanted to know about Manafort, and they interviewed Manafort back here 2014, but they didn't charge him. But it seemed like they knew he was going to come on back, and eventually that's what they did. They ended up charging him again. So it's almost like they knew he was going to be part of the Trump campaign. Was that because they knew they were going to help plant him there? Not really sure, but they most certainly didn't want to know anything about Hunter Biden. They wanted to know about Trump-Russia collusion, and we know this now all the way back from 2016, January. I also want to point out, too, that right towards the end of the Obama administration, Joe Biden went out there to visit. And keep in mind, neither him or his son speak the local language, and yet we're given such massive control over their largest gas company. Seems rather strange, and they were taking in billions of dollars. As a matter of fact, this Burisma was being investigated for the loss of about $1.8 billion, and that led to criminal investigations. And of course, this was all tied up with a very notorious mob sort of bankster out there, if you will, Ihor Kolomoisky. And so this is a really messed up story here, but hopefully this will start being part of the narrative as opposed to Trump-Russia collusion. But we see where this kind of originated here. Obama administration were already calling people in at January of 2016, getting this ready to go. Well, we get a little bit more from Q here on 3325, 20 minutes after the hour at 8. Q says, why would a president of the United States, Hussein, assign Renegade as his United States Secret Service code name? And for those of you who do not know, that was Barack Hussein Obama's code name from the Secret Service, Renegade. Define Renegade. Noun, a person who deserts and betrays an organization, country, or set of principles. Synonyms, traitor, defector, deserter, turncoat, betrayer. Sounds about right. Adjective, renegade, having treacherously changed allegiance. Q. I also want to point out that over here on vocabulary.com, they list renegade as a person who has deserted their cause or defied convention. They're rebels and sometimes outlaws or even traitors. A long time ago, a renegade was a Christian person who decided to become Muslim. That definition is pretty outdated, as these days a renegade is anyone who breaks laws or expectations to do their own thing or join the other side. Might sound kind of cool to be a renegade, like some rogue action hero, but in general, renegade actions are frowned, not smiled upon. Okay, well, from what I can remember, the story was that the Secret Service had asked Obama to pick a name that began with R, and I guess since Ringo was taken, and probably RoboCop by then. He went with Renegade because he was a fan of Kiefer Sutherland, and he starred in the 1989 flick Renegade, where he played an undercover agent. So that was the outward story, but who knows, maybe that's why Secret Service went ahead and gave him that name, because it seems to fit him so perfectly. Renegade. Yeah. All right, kids, those are your Q posts. Let me leave you with this interesting story right here. Federal agents raid home office of Baltimore Mayor Catherine Pugh. Federal agents raided the home and City Hall office of Baltimore Mayor Catherine Pugh on Thursday. FBI and IRS agents also searched the Maryland Center for Adult Training, a nonprofit organization that Pugh once led. 3 of her staffers served as board members. Acting Mayor Bernard Jack Young, who took over while Pugh is on medical leave, fired those staffers this week: Gary Brown Jr., Poetry Deal, and Afra Vance White. State prosecutors are investigating Pugh for sales of her self-published children's book, Healthy Holly, which were sold to companies and others who do business with the city and University of Maryland medical system. Pugh was a board member with the medical system before recently resigning. WBAL-TV reported that FBI agents were searching Brown's home as well. He was investigated in 2016 for illegal contributions to Pugh's campaign. When Pugh was a Maryland state senator, the medical system paid her $500,000 to produce 100,000 Healthy Holly books to be used in the Baltimore school system. That's convenient. Associated Black Charities and insurer Kaiser Permanente said it paid Pugh $200,000 for 30,000 book copies. In 2017, Pugh voted to approve a $48,000 contract for Kaiser Permanente to provide insurance to city employees, while Associated Black Charities was approved to manage $13 million in city youth funds. Earlier this month, the Baltimore City Council told Pugh in a letter that she should resign over the scandal. Interesting stuff. And they got some video of them raiding their home here. And I had to pick this one out here. This is from the page of Jennifer Franciotti. And she is a news reporter and anchor for WBAL-TV. And you got to check out the awesome commentary on this that wins the internet today. Check it out.
Here's some boxes. Boxes mean everything. Your ass got silver bracelets coming, baby. Look to your left, look to your left. More boxes. Boxes and boxes. Boxes and boxes. Look at this. Yes. Federal government. Spending my money well. Get them silver bracelets out, y'all.
Well, I gotta admit, that's my kind of guy right there. Boxes and boxes! Yeah, what's in all those boxes? It's just a bunch of books? Well, it is very strange that she was making all these handshake agreements. She admitted herself that there was no real contracts, and she has returned about $100,000 for one particular order. But I find it very suspect that she's wrapped up with the University of Maryland Medical Center, as well as Kaiser Permanente, Associated Black Charities. This, to me, looks like some slush fundiness going on. All right, Patriots, that's all I got for you for now. As always, if you like this video, please click like, share, and subscribe. Thanks to those of you who do that already. I greatly appreciate it. And if you're new to my channel, welcome to you. Please keep in mind that from time to time, you will get unclicked and unsubscribed and unnotified. It happens all the time. So just do me a favor, check on back from time to time and re-click yourself, re-notify yourself, and resubscribe yourself. I greatly appreciate it. My alternate links are down below, my Gab, my BitChute, my Brighteon.com, and I'm over here at Twitter at IPOT1776. That's at IPOT1776. All those links are down below. If you'd like to send me some information, please email me. My email link is down below. And if you'd like to send something old school, I've got a P.O. Box link down below too. Also, if you'd like to support the channel, my Patreon is linked down below. Once again, all those are linked down below in the video description. All right, kids, this is Sir Patrick Mack. Have a great weekend. We're going to be looking forward to Barr's testimony coming up really, really soon. So we got a lot of big, big things coming. Not just one thing, not just two things, but big, big things. All right, kids, this is Sir Patrick Mack, and until next time, stay funky.